Hey guys, Bolt here. I just recorded the rewriting, so my voice is still bad. So I'm sorry. You're gonna have to deal with this, but we need to get through it. Moving on, we are doing a theory on DCI being Molten Freddy. So Molten DCI, not Molten MCI. So, to understand the theory of Molten MCI at first, is that no matter what, Molten Freddy, by two parts of evidence, is thought to be 5 spirits. Their metal that they've possessed have been melted down, put it into one, and then separated into the fun times. And when they became entered, they kicked out Elizabeth and become the 5 spirits once again. And this is why they're highly aggressive versus any of the other animatronics and want to kill, because they're confused. There's 5 spirits, which understandable, but when it comes to Molten MCI, what you're asking the timeline to do is not right. So if a Molten MCI happens, it goes Fall Fest, Fredbear's, MCI, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Five Nights at Freddy's 1. You want William to some part do his thing to get the parts to make the Molten MCI happen. Him go do that, make them become fun times, come back, try to find something else, and die at a spring trap. He's not around to figure out stuff. So you're having William die before such a location most likely happens. You're having Mike become be a normal person all the way past Five Nights at Freddy's 1. And then you're also telling me that Fun Times did not exist when Circus Babies was open and it was just Baby. And maybe, they had some other animatronics that they didn't care too much to have. And that Baby died very early, but there was no Fun Times. So you're telling me 2 things that we thought were very, dead on. Some point William dies after everything's done and said. Mike's been a corpse for so long. You're throwing that out because there's no reason for him to go down there. If MCI happens, well, the Molten MCI happens after Five Nights at Freddy's 1. When the building is closed, there's no reason for a night guard. Because it sounds like Five Nights at Freddy's 1, in one of the posters, it shows that by year's end, so by the year of 93, at the least, at the most 93 is the earliest that Five Nights at Freddy's 1 closes. So now there's no guest. So that means you're paying a night guard for nothing, which I understand skeleton crews, which is the whole idea Matt Pat's been on. But the thing is, I think Fazbear Entertainment just bankrupted. After 93, they bankrupt. So there's no one paying Mike. So why would Mike be around if he's not getting paid? Unless he's coming there to, just mess with the animatronics and do his own thing, it makes no sense. Because Mike Schmidt's paychecks don't matter anymore. But DCI makes a lot more sense. And to understand what DCI is, it is known as the Dead Children's Incident. MCI was the Missing Children's Incident. Missing Children's Incident was the 83 where Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy are possessed. They are killed. We've seen this in Into the Pit. And they go into possess those animatronics because of the puppet. DCI is based on this mini game. This is known as Save Them. This is from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 on one of the death mini games. You start as Withered Freddy here. You walk around the building, find a bunch of blood stains. There's dead bodies, 5 dead bodies. You see Mango running around. You see Golden Freddy disappearing. So MCI has happened. So this isn't MCI. This is DCI. Toys, animatronics, and all that. The puppet. So this is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. They had 5 more kids die after MCI. And one more thing about the minigames is that Afton is around stopping Freddy from continuing and saying you can't. I have 3 things that could happen here. Purple guy just stops the process of these 5 kids possessing stuff. But there's 2 problems. One, in the books, it is told that Remnant/Agony, it doesn't need a body to be stuffed in a suit to do anything. It just has to exist and get clear. It needs to be near metal, and it can possess it and start doing stuff with it. We've seen this in Into the Pit stuff. Like, the balls of the pit were splattered with the blood of the MCIs, so soul energy exists in there. So even if Afton stopped them from getting stuffed, metal, which is the animatronics, the toy animatronics, it would explain that they are either around as another apparition, like an agony being, or they are a toy animatronic. And then the third option is that the puppet is able to stuff the kids, and we get Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, the Mangle, and BB to be possessed. And a lot of people are like, but, well, hold on, but Bolt, but they got scrapped by the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. In the newspaper, it says when the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 location is closed, they're scrapped. They can't be around anymore. They can't be used to be the metal for Afton to use stuff. One issue with that. How does this exist? Tell me. Right here. This right here is the Mangle. Here's BB. That's Toy Bonnie. Right there. That's Toy Chica. That's probably Toy Freddy. So they didn't just get scrapped. They got put in storage. And because William is either he's still a part of Freddy's, we've seen this in the movies that he still has connections into Freddy's, or he is just able to get into Freddy's anyways. It won't stop him if it's put in storage. He just has to get a hold of them. So the fact that this exists and that the parts for toy animatronics are still sitting around, he can easily get a hold of the metal and melt them into the fun times. And this also fixes the issue with the timeline. Because Molten DCI is the thing, it fixes quite a bit. If the toy animatronics are scrapped, this gives Afton the ability, after Five Nights at Freddy's 2, to take the metal and make them into the fun times. And in Sister Location, all it takes is a Freddy's 2 close, and their service becomes the #1 animatronic thing. And yes, you can throw this after 85 or Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but like I said, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 would make it to where Mike is not a corpse. Or Five Nights at Freddy's 2 would make sense because we haven't seen Five Nights at Freddy's 1. So, and also this doesn't make it to where Springtrap is made within a span of 20 so years. This would give Afton the amount of time and secrecy to make the fun times, melt the DCI down into the fun times. This gives them the 5 souls, and then My stuff is messing with me. My ears are popping. My throat's bad. And this also gives it to where Mike can become a corpse by Five Nights at Freddy's 1. And it gives Afton no reason to run back to his lab in between the destruction of the animatronics. So he can just go to there and die. So he can take them one at a time, but he still gets killed by the spring trap. And people that are like, oh, but Henry says in Pizza Sim that he took the innocence of these 5 spirits twice. So they died during DCI, and what you're telling me is, in Molten MCI's theory, the second time would have been them being destroyed and melted down, and becoming confused by becoming this mass of random spirits all launched together. And you're telling me DCI can't use that theory? That is the whole thing. Twice. And you're just saying the murder of the kids and the second one being them become one. Either theory works, but DCI makes more sense not throwing them to the wayside. Because I think a lot of people are just saying DCI didn't happen. While you see it in a minigame, it has no lore relevance. Let's throw it out like the Bite of 87. Lore still exists. That has not been retconned. Scott would have came out and said the 5 kids from DCI did not happen. Unless that is the one retcon, which then that confuses other things that need to be retconned. There's 2 sets of dead kids. Not including the weird, out of the way ones like Charlie. But in this theory, it makes it so Mike is a corpse. Afton doesn't die literally after making the fun times with the spirits. And this also makes it that you're using the second set of kids. The second set of kids actually are worth something. Because if this is so, this makes it to where my ears. It makes it so you're using that their existence. So it's good for the timeline. It's good for evidence that isn't getting tossed. We're returning back to the Bite of 87 with the week before, so you can't throw out evidence from other games, older games. Just because the Bite of 87 isn't Bite of 83 anymore and it doesn't matter as much, we still have it existing. It's still a point of importance. And then another thing that I would like to mention is that this would give us evidence for why the toys exist in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 and why they still have phantoms. Because why would Mangle and BB have a phantom if they weren't possessed? Another point that I'd like to point out is just the good ending wouldn't exist. Because why would we get shown that some souls are able to move on if we don't get rid of the MCI and move on to DCI? You know? Another thing that I do have an annoyance with is that a lot of people are using Stitch Wraith as a parallel to Scrap Trap. Because in the Man from the Room story, they say that a spirit was able to attach itself to William, and in Stitch Wraith, 2 spirits are able to take over one body. One is able to move around, do all the consciousness, while the other one is kind of a backstory. A lot of people are saying that the only reason Ultimate Custom Night happened is that Golden Freddy did not pass on. and that he stuck around and his parts were used to rebuild Springtrap. You flunked your own MCI Molten theory then. Because now you're telling me you didn't use all the parts to make Molten MCI. Now you're saying Golden Freddy was left outside the equation. Now you're telling me that Golden Freddy is left out of the equation, so now there's 4 spirits in there. You're saying only 4 spirits are in that combination, when it's always known by Candy Cadet and others that it's 5. Unless you're telling me that Silver Eyes is a better understanding of Molten, where you only get to really see the main 4 become a amalgamation for Springtrap to jump into. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. You don't forget about 5 kids who lost their lives. You don't, mess the timeline up with the corpse and Springtrap becoming a thing. It just makes sense. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.